Over the last couple of months, I don't know what it is, but the UFC has seemed kind of boring. Maybe I'm a bit burnt out and in the minority, but it just doesn't feel like it's hitting the same. Now, 2023 was a solid year for the sport. There were good title fights, big upsets, and stacked cards throughout. You had the return of John Jones, the Islam and Volkanovski fights, the rise and fall of Adesanya, and the return of the almighty BMF belt. But I just didn't find myself as in tune with the sport as much as I normally am. I missed a good amount of countdowns, press conferences, and weigh-ins, which is usual for like a fight night, but I was skipping out on the numbered pay-per-views. I know, how dare I, right? Filthy casual. I agree. Beforehand, I was watching the UFC religiously. My YouTube feed was nothing but embedded vlogs, press conferences, or Dana White interviews. I was so in tune with the game that I could announce fights or drama before Brett Akamoto's goofy looking ass. I knew about Dana slapping his wife before his goddamn kids did. These days, I'm still keeping up with the major cards and backgrounds of the fights, but not as thoroughly as before. I'll miss a couple embedded vlogs, interviews, or even the ceremonial weigh-ins. Like that Strickland vs. Dricus UFC 297 card. I missed both the countdown and weigh-ins. Now I agree with most that the card itself was a bit lackluster. Pennington and Silva as the co-main. Come on now, Dana. I know Sean is a wacky dude that says a lot of shit that captures the media's attention, but that card was ass. The lead up and background just didn't catch my attention. But this is just one of the many examples where I felt this lack of interest in the UFC itself. To get to the bottom of this mystery as to why the UFC seems boring, I got a couple of theories. One is just how diluted the UFC is getting. Now, I'm not too sure if this is a good or bad thing here. There is just so much content that is being put out. Yeah, you want content for the fans, but at what point is quality better than quantity? I mean, you got the countdowns, embedded vlogs, media day interviews, ceremonial weigh-ins, press conferences, post weigh-in interviews, which are so dumb by the way. These guys are all near-death skeletons after cutting 20 pounds in a week. They're hanging on to life via 2 sips of Gatorade, and you're just gonna go ahead and interview them. You got the likes of DC and Bisping having the time of their lives, laughing, playing some trivia game, while a Sean Strickland has a sunken-in face and is barely breathing trying to answer a goddamn question. Just cut those out. Oh, and don't forget Nina's interviews too. They're very informative. Basically, there's a shit ton of content at the moment, and it's kind of overwhelming. There's so much to choose from, I literally cannot keep up. If any of you have played the recent Call of Duties, it's like their new attachment armory. There's like, I kid you not, 50 scopes per gun. The fuck am I gonna do with 15 different red dots? Add in the like 300 other little attachments, it's just too complicated. Whatever happened to just a suppressor and red dot? Keep it simple. In combo with this, and to my next point, is the horrendous trash talk that has been going on. Most press conferences are pretty cringe and hard to watch. Guys like O'Malley, Colby, and Sean Strickland are just saying random shit for the sake of it. They're starting to trash each other's families and getting into some deep bisexual conversations. The best part about most of these is just seeing Dana get even pinker and pinker while he has to listen and awkwardly stand up there next to these guys. Then you have the language barriers between some of the fighters, and trash talking doesn't always go well in broken English. Plus, a lot of these guys just don't have the personality to be a heel and are doing it for attention. They're trying to get their name in the headlines and get their star power up, which is the name of the game these days. Yeah, you have to be a good fighter, but you also have to be a figure that sells pay-per-views. I mean, it's kind of always been the case though. Take a look at DJ. Dude was one of, if not the most dominant fighter in UFC history. 11 title defenses and champ for what? 6 years? Godly stats. But the story of his career was that he couldn't sell pay-per-views. Dana was straight up trying to shut down the entirety of the flyweight division, and this was while DJ was going on one of the greatest runs of all time. It's insane to think about, but the UFC is a business, and at the end of the day, it's all about the Benjamins. Still though, I don't want to trash the UFC too hard. We also have to account for everyone's TikTok attention spans. Get ready, because we're about to go down the Gay Frog and Eddie Bravo conspiracy rabbit holes. People are just mindlessly scrolling through these short form videos all day. It could be Facebook Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. It's all messing with your minds, people. These days, everyone has an attention span of a squirrel. As soon as those 6 seconds are up, like a drug, people are jumping on the next thing for a dopamine hit. People don't really want to sit through and watch the full documentaries or vlogs. They'd much rather watch a short form version. Let's go ahead and get even deeper. A couple of years ago, there was a pandemic going on known as COVID-19. The government then proceeded to inject all of us with Paulo Costa's secret juice in the form of COVID shots. So now we're all becoming mentally challenged like Paulo Costa himself. Alright, conspiracy over. Honestly, with the last 2 cards being stacked and UFC 300 coming up, I'm hoping to get back into my groove and keep up with all things UFC. Even in the 2010s, there would be these stagnant months, which is normal. Sometimes there's a lackluster card or just fighters that are boring. But for 2024, the future is bright. We've got a great lineup of current champions, and UFC 300 is filled with heat. Albeit that 300 main event of Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira was a massive letdown though. Not saying it's a bad fight, it's just Dana dropped the ball on that one. After all the hype and talk about this massive main event, he goes and drops that. He set himself up for failure there, not gonna lie. Still, the card is so stacked, I'm game for all things UFC 300. Plus, all that aside, we've got some crazy possible title contenders. Big names in the form of Hamza, Bo Nickel, and Shavkat. There will definitely be some switch-ups by the end of the year. I mean, Volko just got knocked the out again, and I'm expecting some more surprises throughout 24 for sure. I think it's just been a bit of a stagnant couple of months. Let me know in the comments if you've been feeling like this as well, or if I'm just mentally challenged like Paulo.